The first time Vivian Blackwood looked at me, I could see exactly what she was thinking. Her ice blue eyes swept from my modest dress to my simple shoes, calculating my worth in dollars and finding me lacking. She didn't say anything that day, just pressed her perfectly manicured lips into a thin line. But I felt the judgment like a cold wind, cutting through the warmth of Ethan's hand in mine. That was 3 years ago, and nothing has changed except the weight of her silence has grown heavier. I sit at my kitchen table now, sipping coffee from a plain white mug, while my phone buzzes with encrypted messages. Through the window, I can see the gardener trimming the hedges of the Blackwood estate next door. Ethan is already at work, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the memory of last night's family dinner. Vivienne had smiled sweetly while asking if I'd finally found a real job yet. The coffee tastes bitter, but not as bitter as swallowing my response for the 1000th time. My business card reads Administrative Assistant at Chen & Associates, a small firm downtown. It's printed on cheap cardstock, nothing fancy or impressive. When people ask what I do, I tell them I file papers and answer phones. Their eyes glaze over with polite disinterest, exactly as intended. Even Ethan believes this version of my life, though sometimes I catch him watching me with curious eyes when my phone rings at odd hours. The Blackwood mansion always feels like a museum, all marble floors and oil paintings that cost more than most people's houses. Tonight, Marcus Blackwood sits at the head of the table, while Vivian holds court from her end. Sarah, Ethan's sister, chatters about her latest charity event, her blonde hair catching the chandelier light. She barely acknowledges me, following her mother's lead in treating me like furniture. James, the butler, serves dinner with practiced invisibility, though I sometimes catch him watching the family dynamics with knowing eyes. Olivia, dear, Vivian's voice cuts through Sarah's story like a blade wrapped in silk. How is your little job going? Still pushing papers around? The question hangs in the air, loaded with condescension. Ethan's fork pauses halfway to his mouth, and I can feel his tension without looking at him. It's going well, thank you, I reply quietly, cutting my salmon into small, precise pieces. My hands are steady, betraying nothing of the fire building in my chest. Mom, please. Ethan's voice carries a note of warning, but it's soft, uncertain. He's a grown man reduced to a boy under his mother's sharp gaze. What? I'm just showing interest in my daughter-in-law's career, Vivian says, her tone all innocence and ice. Though I suppose career might be too strong a word. But Marcus clears his throat uncomfortably, but says nothing. Sarah smirks into her wine glass, enjoying the show. After dinner, I overhear Vivian talking to Mrs. Patterson by the garden fountain. Their voices carry on the night air, sharp and clear. I just don't understand what Ethan sees in her. A woman with no ambition, no breeding, no prospects. Vivian's laugh is like breaking glass. Some women are very good at other things, Mrs. Patterson suggests with a meaningful look, and my blood turns to ice water. Ethan is quiet on the drive home, his hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than necessary. The leather seats of his BMW feel cold against my back. She doesn't mean it, he finally says, but his voice lacks conviction. You know how she gets with new people. 3 years, and I'm still new people. I watch the streetlights blur past and say nothing, because what is there to say? At 11:47 p.m., my secure phone vibrates against the nightstand. Ethan is already asleep, his breathing deep and even beside me. I slip out of bed and pad to my home office, closing the door silently behind me. Agent Rodriguez's voice is crisp and professional in my ear. We need those financial records by Friday. Can you access the family's private accounts? Her words are code, layered with meaning that would sound innocent to anyone listening. My real office isn't downtown in some modest building. It's a secure floor in a federal building, behind locked doors and security clearances that most people will never see. But every morning, I drive to Chen & Associates, where Amanda Torres plays the role of my supervisor with Oscar-worthy dedication. We discuss foaming systems and coffee orders for anyone who might be listening. The investigation has been running for 18 months now, and we're close to something big. The envelope arrives on a Tuesday, hand-delivered by James with an apologetic expression. Inside, photocopied pages from a budget planning workbook, complete with Vivian's handwritten notes in the margins. Tracking small expenses can help people on limited incomes, reads one note. Another suggests couponing as a viable strategy for the financially challenged. I sit in my kitchen, staring at these pages, and something cold and hard settles in my chest. The next family gathering is worse. Vivian waits until we're all seated, wine flowing and guards down, before she strikes. Olivia, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what exactly do you make at that little job of yours? Her smile is sharp enough to cut diamond. A table goes silent. Sarah looks fascinated. Marcus studies his plate. Ethan opens his mouth to protest, but no words come out. I make enough, I say quietly, but Vivienne isn't finished. She never is. It's just that Ethan is accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and I worry about the imbalance. Financial compatibility is so important in a marriage, don't you think? Her words are poison wrapped in concern, and everyone at the table knows it. But no one calls her out. No one ever does. The family Christmas photo hangs in the main hallway, all of them posed perfectly in their designer clothes. I'm not in it, of course. I was running late that day, according to Vivian's careful orchestration. When I mention it to Ethan later, he just shrugs. We can take another one, he says. But we never do. The message is clear. I don't belong in their perfect family portrait. My phone buzzes at 3 a.m., and I slip out of bed to take the call in my car. The voice on the other end gives me coordinates and a time. Nothing more. When I return, Ethan is sitting up in bed, mussed from sleep. Everything okay? Work emergency? His voice carries a note of suspicion that wasn't there before. Just a client crisis, I lie smoothly, and hate myself for how easily the deception comes. At Sarah's birthday party, Vivienne introduces me to her friends with practiced cruelty. This is Olivia, Ethan's wife. She has the most adorable little job downtown. The word adorable drips with condescension. Her friends smile politely and immediately lose interest. Exactly as she intended. I excuse myself to the bathroom and lean against the marble sink, staring at my reflection until the woman in the mirror looks like a stranger. I've been watching the Blackwood family for months now, documenting their habits and connections with professional detachment. Vivian's circle of wealthy friends isn't as clean as their designer clothes suggest. Money laundering, tax evasion, offshore accounts. These are the crimes hiding behind charity galas and country club memberships. And Vivian is right in the center of it all. Sometimes I wonder if she suspects something, the way she watches me when she thinks I'm not looking. I think she's having an affair, I overhear Vivian telling Marcus in his study. The door is cracked, and her voice carries clearly into the hallway. Those strange hours, the secretive phone calls, the way she disappears sometimes. Mark my words, Marcus, that girl is up to something. If only she knew how right she was, and how wrong at the same time. My laptop is a fortress of security, hidden behind passwords and encryption that would take government hackers weeks to crack. The files inside contain enough evidence to destroy lives and topple empires. But to anyone looking over my shoulder, it just looks like boring spreadsheets and administrative documents. The perfect cover for the perfect lie. I've become an expert at hiding in plain sight, invisible even to the man I married. Vivian's latest attack comes in the form of a job application, printed out and left on my plate at Sunday brunch. Administrative assistant to wealthy family, the header reads, with several lines highlighted in yellow. I thought you might be interested, she says with false sweetness. It would be such a better fit for your skill set. The implication is clear. Know your place and stay in it. That night, I wait for Ethan to say something, anything about his mother's behavior. We brush our teeth in silence, go through our bedtime routine like actors who've forgotten their lines. "She means well," he finally says, and those 3 words hit me like a physical blow. I lie awake long after he falls asleep, staring at the ceiling and making decisions I should have made years ago. Agent Rodriguez briefs me on the latest developments from a parking garage downtown. The Blackwood family's financial web is more complex than we initially thought, stretching across 3 countries and involving dozens of shell companies. "We need more time," she says, "but time is something I'm running out of. The weight of maintaining my cover is becoming unbearable." "How much longer?" I ask, and she gives me a look that says she understands the personal cost of this investigation. My carefully constructed normal life is starting to show stress fractures. I catch myself almost slipping, almost revealing too much during casual conversations. Last week, I mentioned a restaurant in Prague that doesn't exist on any tourist map. Ethan gave me a strange look, but didn't ask questions. I'm walking a tightrope between 2 worlds, and the fall is getting harder to imagine surviving. The invitation arrives on expensive cardstock, embossed with the Blackwood family crest. Vivian is hosting a dinner party for 30 of their closest friends and family members. "Dress appropriately," she tells me over the phone, and I can hear the smile in her voice. She's planning something, and whatever it is, I'm going to be the main attraction. I accept with grace I don't feel, knowing that some performances require a full audience. I spend the morning of the dinner party preparing like a soldier heading into battle. My modest black dress is carefully chosen, my makeup understated but flawless. In my jewelry box, I select the one piece that matters, a simple silver bracelet that looks like costume jewelry, but contains more technology than most people's computers. Today, everything changes. The Blackwood estate is transformed, filled with the cream of society, sipping champagne and discussing their investments. I recognize several faces from my investigation files, though they have no idea who I really am. Vivian holds court in a stunning silver gown, her blonde hair perfectly styled, every inch the society matriarch. She catches my eye across the room and smiles. It's the smile of a predator who thinks she's cornered her prey. Vivian taps her champagne glass with a silver knife, the crystal ringing like a death knell. The room falls silent, all eyes turning to our hostess. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say a few words about family," she begins, her voice carrying easily across the room. I feel Ethan tense beside me, but it's too late to stop what's coming. Vivian has been building to this moment for months. "Family is about more than blood," Vivian continues, her eyes finding mine across the crowded room. "It's about shared values, shared breeding, shared understanding of one's place in the world." The words fall like stones into still water, creating ripples of discomfort among the guests. But Vivian isn't finished. She never is. "Some people are born to this life. Others," she pauses dramatically, "well, others try to marry into it." "My daughter-in-law, Olivia, works as an administrative assistant," Vivian announces to the room, her voice dripping with false concern. "A noble profession, certainly, but hardly suited to the responsibilities of this family." The guests shift uncomfortably. Sarah smirks from across the room. Marcus looks like he wants to disappear into his chair. I worry that some people don't understand the weight of carrying the Blackwood name. "Which is why," Vivian continues, reaching into her purse, "I took the liberty of calling Olivia's workplace to verify her position and, well, to better understand her qualifications." My blood turns to ice water. She couldn't have, but the triumphant look in her eyes tells me she absolutely could have, and did. "The conversation was quite illuminating," she says with a smile that could freeze hell itself. I stand up so abruptly that my chair scrapes against the marble floor. 30 pairs of eyes turn to me, some sympathetic, others curious, most simply uncomfortable. Vivienne's smile widens. She thinks she's won, thinks she's finally exposed me as the fraud she believes me to be. "Excuse me," I say quietly, my voice barely carrying across the silent room. "I need some air." I walk through the French doors onto the terrace, my heels clicking against the stone with each measured step. Behind me, I can hear the uncomfortable murmur of conversation resuming. Ethan follows me outside, his face pale and stricken. "Olivia, I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was going to..." "Didn't you?" I turn to face him, and something in my expression stops him mid-sentence. 3 years, Ethan. 3 years of this. Standing on that terrace, looking out over the perfectly manicured gardens of the Blackwood estate, I make a choice that will change everything. I reach into my purse and pull out my real phone, the one with the encrypted connection to Agent Rodriguez. My fingers find the number I've had memorized for months. "It's time," I say when she answers. "Tomorrow morning. Bring everyone." I don't sleep that night. Instead, I sit in my home office, looking through files and photographs that tell the real story of the Blackwood family fortune. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell companies in Delaware, art purchases that were never delivered, charitable donations that disappeared into the void. Vivienne has been very busy and very sloppy. Tomorrow, that sloppiness will cost her everything. The sun rises over the city like a judgment, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. I dress carefully in my best suit, the one I never wear because it looks too expensive for an administrative assistant. Today, I'm not playing that role anymore. Today, I'm exactly who I've always been. Special Investigator Olivia Chen, Financial Crimes Division. It feels good to be myself again, even if it's terrifying. At exactly 9 a.m., 3 black SUVs pull up to the gates of the Blackwood estate. I watch from my car as Agent Rodriguez steps out of the lead vehicle, followed by a team of federal investigators. My phone buzzes with a text from Vivienne. "What's happening? There are government cars at my house." I don't reply. Instead, I drive through the gates I've passed through hundreds of times as a guest. But today I'm here in an official capacity. James opens the front door with his usual professional composure, but I can see the confusion in his eyes when he sees me with the federal agents. "Mrs. Blackwood," Agent Rodriguez says as Vivienne appears in the foyer, still in her silk pajamas and looking thoroughly rattled. "I'm Agent Rodriguez, FBI Financial Crimes Division. We have a warrant." Vivienne's ice blue eyes find mine, and I watch understanding dawn across her face like a winter sunrise. "This is Special Investigator Chen," Agent Rodriguez continues, gesturing toward me. "She's been heading our investigation into your financial activities for the past 18 months. The words hang in the air like smoke. Vivienne's face goes through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, and finally, a kind of horrified understanding. "You," she whispers, pointing at me with a shaking finger. "You've been, but you're just..." "An administrative assistant?" I finish for her, my voice steady and professional. "That was the cover, yes. My real job is investigating financial crimes committed by wealthy individuals who believe they're above the law." Marcus appears at the top of the stairs, drawn by the commotion. Sarah emerges from the kitchen, her coffee mug forgotten in her hands. "We have evidence of money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud," Agent Rodriguez continues, unfolding the warrant. Ethan's BMW screeches to a halt in the circular driveway as my team begins carrying boxes of evidence from the house. He runs up the front steps, taking in the scene with growing alarm. "What's going on? Olivia, what are you doing here with?" His voice trails off as he sees me standing with the federal agents, wearing a badge I've kept hidden for 3 years. "Hello, Ethan," I say quietly. "We need to talk." Vivienne finds her voice at last, and when she does, it's filled with a rage I've never heard before. "You little snake, you've been lying to us, spying on us, pretending to be something you're not." "I've been doing my job," I reply calmly. The same job I've had for 8 years, long before I met your son. But the phone calls, the strange hours, I thought you were. She stops, realizing how foolish her suspicions sound now. Agent Rodriguez holds up a folder, thick with documents. Mrs. Blackwood, we have evidence of wire transfers to offshore accounts, falsified charity donations, and art purchases used to launder money from illegal sources. Vivian's face drains of color. Behind her, Marcus slowly sinks onto the marble staircase, looking every one of his 62 years. This is impossible, Vivian whispers. You can't have. I was so careful. You were careful about the wrong things, I tell her, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from my voice. You spent so much energy investigating my background, spreading rumors about my motives, that you never noticed I was investigating yours. The agents continue their methodical work, photographing documents and seizing computer hard drives. The Blackwood mansion, always so perfect and controlled, is in chaos. Every family dinner, every social gathering, every time you humiliated me, I was gathering evidence. Sarah drops her coffee mug, and it shatters on the marble floor with a sound like breaking dreams. But you were always so quiet, so insignificant. That was rather the point, I tell her. People don't pay attention to quiet women with ordinary jobs. They don't guard their conversations around us. Marcus looks up at me with something that might be respect. How long have you known? I've suspected the family's financial irregularities for 2 years, I explain. The investigation officially began 18 months ago, after we received a tip about suspicious charitable donations. Ethan stares at me like I'm a stranger. Perhaps I am. Perhaps I always was. The wedding was already being planned when the investigation started. I couldn't tell you without compromising everything we'd worked for. So our entire marriage, Ethan says slowly, has been built on a lie. The words hit harder than I expected. For all of Vivian's cruelty, for all the humiliation and pain, I did love him. I do love him. Not a lie, I say quietly. Just incomplete truth. I couldn't tell you who I really was without putting the investigation at risk. Agent Rodriguez begins reading from the warrant. Conspiracy to commit money laundering, tax evasion, wire fraud, and racketeering. Mrs. Blackwood, you have the right to remain silent. Vivian's legs give out, and she grabs onto the doorframe for support. The woman who has terrorized me for 3 years suddenly looks fragile and old. This can't be happening, she whispers. This can't be real. As the handcuffs click around Vivian's wrists, she looks at me with pure hatred. You destroyed my family. You destroyed everything. No, I reply, my voice gentle but firm. You did that yourself. I just documented it. The agents lead her toward the black SUV, and I watch the woman who made my life hell for 3 years experience her own version of powerlessness. After the agents have left and the mansion falls silent, Ethan and I stand in the wreckage of his family's life. Documents are scattered across the floor, and the smell of spilled coffee mingles with the scent of expensive perfume. Why didn't you tell me? He asks, and his voice breaks on the words. Why couldn't you trust me? It's the question I've been dreading and the one I've been preparing to answer for months. Because I couldn't risk it, I tell him honestly. This investigation involved millions of dollars and dozens of victims. If word had gotten out, evidence could have been destroyed. Witnesses could have disappeared. He runs his hands through his hair, a gesture I recognize from 3 years of marriage. But I'm your husband. I deserve to know. Did I deserve to know that you would never stand up to your mother, that you would let her humiliate me for 3 years without once defending me properly? The words hang between us like a bridge we're both afraid to cross. For the first time in our marriage, we're being completely honest with each other. I tried to defend you, he says weakly. I told her to stop. You whispered requests while she screamed accusations. You asked her to be nice while she tried to destroy me. I shake my head. That's not defending, Ethan. That's managing. We sit on the marble steps where his father was sitting just an hour ago, surrounded by the debris of his family's legacy. For the first time, we're talking to each other as equals. "Who are you really?" he asks, and I hear genuine curiosity in his voice instead of accusation. "I'm exactly who you fell in love with," I tell him. "I'm just also someone who catches criminals for a living, someone who's very good at her job." "All those times you seemed to disappear into yourself during family dinners," Ethan says slowly. "You were working, weren't you? Gathering evidence." I nod. "Your mother made it very easy, actually. She loves to talk about money, about investments, about the family's business dealings. She assumed I was too stupid to understand what she was saying. But you understood everything." "I have a master's degree in forensic accounting and 8 years of experience in financial crimes," I tell him. "I speak 4 languages and I've worked cases in 12 countries. He stares at me like I'm a stranger, which I suppose I am. The woman he married was real, but she was only part of the truth. The quiet, submissive wife was an act? Not an act, I correct him. Just not the whole story. I am quiet by nature. I do prefer listening to talking, but I'm also capable of taking down criminal enterprises that have been operating for decades." The late morning sun streams through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the marble floor. Everything looks different in this light. I'm still the woman who loves coffee in the morning and falls asleep reading mystery novels. "So where does that leave us?" Ethan asks, and I can hear the fear in his voice. He's lost his mother, his family's reputation, and now he's discovering that his wife has been a stranger all along. "That depends," I say honestly. "Can you love someone who's stronger than you thought? Someone who kept secrets to protect an investigation that was bigger than both of us?" He's quiet for a long moment, thinking. "I should have protected you from her," he says finally. "I should have stood up to my mother years ago. I was a coward." It's the first time he's acknowledged the truth without making excuses, and I feel something shift between us. Maybe we can build something real on this foundation of honesty. "Yes, I agree. You were, but you can choose to be different now." 3 months later, Vivian Blackwood is sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. The Blackwood family fortune, built on decades of financial crimes, is largely seized by the government. Marcus moves to a modest apartment downtown and finds work consulting for legitimate businesses. Sarah gets a job at a non-profit, learning for the first time what honest work feels like. And Ethan? Ethan sells the family estate and starts over with nothing but his integrity intact. I take a leave of absence from the FBI to figure out what comes next. For the first time in years, I can be completely myself. No covers to maintain, no lies to keep track of. Ethan and I go to marriage counseling, where we learn to talk to each other honestly about everything. His family, my work, the secrets we kept, and the reasons we kept them. It's not easy, but it's real in a way our marriage never was before. Sometimes I think about that last dinner party, about the moment when Vivian thought she had finally destroyed me. She never understood that I was never the fragile, helpless woman she believed me to be. I was always exactly who I needed to be, strong enough to endure her cruelty, smart enough to build a case against her, and patient enough to wait for the right moment to reveal the truth. Some truths are safer when lies expose themselves first, just as I told Ethan that day.